Another episode of Founders Files. A little upgraded scene.
We were going to do the podcast today, but we're saving that for
A special treat.
in like half a week.
Yeah. So that's going to be fun when we get there.
So what are we talking about today?
The overall concept is resources. What we have around us to utilize and take advantage of, and what in our direct or indirect environment has helped us progress as a company.
That's true, especially because we are in an industry that we have no experience in and we know little to nothing about outside of just being a consumer, which is like mobile technology.
I guess that is a lot to say because there is knowledge that comes from everyday use and we benefit from that, but as far as the creation of technology,
Yeah,
not there.
different story.
So
It's like you always hear people say staying scrappy, and I think one of the goals is like we watched a lot of YouTube videos and podcasts and just anything that we could get our hands on about like what it means to start something. And one of the advices that we often hear is like stay scrappy. But one of our goals is to illuminate what the details of these big pieces of advice you always hear are. So for us, like you hear stay scrappy, but it's like you don't really know what that means until you're in it.
Yeah.
And so maybe the goal of this is to say like, okay, here's what scrappy means because this is how we're experiencing it so far.
It's being scrappy in your specific environment, because what works for us is going to be vastly different than somebody on the East Coast, or maybe somebody who's in SF proper. Like their scrappy is going to be very different. Different events, different knowledge floating around, different general resources, different innovation centers, libraries, XYZ, and another. That's going to change vastly. So for somebody to sit there and give you very exact advice just doesn't work. We can tell people what worked for us is working for us, and we can try and have them take that in a general sense. But as far as like you need to do this, it's not practical.
That's true.
So
I guess take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, take it with a grain of salt.
I think what we probably found is that we are based in Northern Nevada, and the Reno community is super excited to help people who are trying to start new ventures because they're trying to grow the area economically.
Nevada in general.
Yeah.
What is now opened in Nevada? The new, what is it? Economic office for...
Yeah, the Office of Entrepreneurship or something like that.
The first state.
That's kind of neat. With that, there are so many free resources, even before that one can use both on the product development side, but then also the community relations, developing a network side. And it's just all about your success is a function of how quickly can you find those resources and how effectively can you use them?
Yeah. You really need to rip them apart. So for us, I think what kickstarted this all was Startup Week. That before Startup Week, we were kind of very much on our own, doing our own little thing, hip-hopping around town, not really knowing what's around us. But after Startup Week is night and day difference on our involvement of what Reno/Carson City has to offer.
And what's Startup Week?
So Reno Startup Week was a kind of a conference where they had various speakers from different areas, different small businesses throughout Reno area, not even a little bit beyond Reno as well. They came in and just talked about their experience, gave presentations, whether it's on pitch decks, resources, financial stuff, XYZ and everything. They even had a mentalness track. That was cool. They had like yoga some days and breath work. So they covered everything that you need for being a startup company, which was cool to see more than just startup companies there and I was quite shocked on the amount of companies that were in attendance.
Yeah.
But they had resources from everywhere. EDON, where else? EDON, Startup NV, Generator, SB,
DC.
SBDC, everywhere.
That was big. Yeah. And I guess where we went from there is we're like, all right, we have an idea of what we're trying to do. We're trying to build this phone. And what's the first resource that we found? We found this Startup Week, probably I think just by a fluke. Someone shared it on social.
No, we talked to Dio.
Oh, we talked to Dio. How did we meet Dio?
We met Dio at Tech Alley. Shout out to Dio. Go check out what she's doing. Really cool. We met her at Tech Alley.
What's Dio doing? Just for all the folks so they can check it out.
So she's making fragrances, all natural, super healthy, super good for you, completely custom to what your body needs and what your skincare routine is. She's going through a really cool rebrand right now. So shout out to Dio.
We met her at Tech Alley.
And talked a little bit, reached out the next week, went to coffee, and she was handing out flyers when we went to coffee. I'm like, what's that? So you should go. It's going to be really cool. I think we signed up that day or the day after.
And we found Tech Alley through some event, like Eventbrite. Oh, we were looking for, okay, that's how we started, actually. We were still in China, and we're like, what are we going to do in Reno?
Mm-hmm. We started looking for, like, events or meetups or something.
And there were 3 meetups.
Yeah. Tech Alley, Tech Rally, and Small Business Alliance.
Yeah. And we're like, okay, let's go to all of them. Right when we got back.
And we did.
Yeah.
Like the first day back, we went to all of them.
Yep.
It was because they all happened to fall within that first week, so we felt we were super productive going to all these different places.
Look at us, a couple of business guys
and
doing
we had
business.
no idea what we were doing.
No. We went to the Reno Small Business one. Maybe not exactly where we want to be right now, or like it was a bunch of sole proprietor type of businesses, which is really good, especially how we're doing long term, or like our ideas with what we want to do long term. It's good to know these sole props, but for resources based on what our needs were, we probably determined like maybe this isn't the best use of our time.
We were coming from a brand new company standpoint, and a lot of them were very well established, been in business for a couple of years now. So that's where they were at, and we're like,
not there.
We're in the idea stage.
Yeah.
So it's just like it was a little bit of a mismatch. It was great meeting people. It was cool because that was our first exposure to events as far as talking to people about Simple, getting in the front of loads of different people, meeting people, networking. And that was it was fun. We were like, what are we going to do? How is this going to be? We had no idea. So we went from there. The next one was
Tech Alley. Tech Rally.
We did Tech. I don't think we did Tech Rally. We just did Tech Alley.
What's the difference?
Tech Alley is the one we presented at.
Oh, right. I thought we did.
We did both.
Yeah, we did both.
So we did Tech Alley and Tech Rally within the same week. It was like one day after another. So we went to all these events, meeting, like we said, various people. And we were eventually end up presenting at Tech Alley a couple times, which was cool. One time, it was, we didn't know we were going to be the main presentation, but it felt like we were the main presentation, which was really cool. And that was an awesome opportunity.
With that, it was cool to like get our ideas out there for the first time, and then also get feedback so we could change our presentation to say like, because I mean, the whole startup thing and doing anything honestly is iterative. Yeah. Like you're gonna do something and then change, do something and then change. All the time. So even same thing with pitching and presenting, even if it's not a pitch, and that's what we learned. Yeah, there.
We have 15 different pitch decks, it feels like.
Yeah.
And they're all like kind of created for different styles. Okay, maybe yes, we're pitching, but it's a little bit more informative on this way. Oh, we're pitching, but this is possibly to investors, so we're gonna pitch this way. Oh, this is just general information. Here,
It's kind of like a resume. You got to know your audience.
yeah.
With presentations, which is cool.
But it makes it confusing when you're going through the workspace and you have 15 different pitch decks.
Yeah, you're like, oh god. Okay, so we met Dio there, and then she's like, "Oh, do startup week," and then we did startup week. So I mean, that's just to say, so far, if we're talking about free resources, typically what will happen is like you don't need to know all of the resources available in your area right off the bat.
No.
Just start with one, because one will often lead to one more, will lead to two more, and then you'll see different forks in the road. And based on your understanding of what you might need, you can decide what forks you want to take. Typically take both if you can, because why not? You're very early. You don't know what you don't know. You should probably just be a sponge for information and absorb as much as you can, even if you think it's irrelevant.
Yeah. And there's no reason to push anything away yet because you don't even know where you're supposed to be yet.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think we did well. We just took everything in.
Yeah.
Left, right, center, meetings every day, multiple meetings every day.
Take all the calls.
All the calls. It doesn't matter who with. Just meet, network.
Yeah.
Use those resources available because then they start connecting dots.
A big part of that too is if you've committed to start something, it's going to be uncomfortable even when things aren't hard. Like, for example, the best way to take advantage of resources is to really put yourself out there in a way that you recognize that these resources want you to put yourself out there. It's not like I'm going to go to this event and fit into it how I want. It's more like I'm going to go to this thing. What's the best way I can take advantage of this event based on how it's set up?
Yeah.
Or this resource based on how it's set up so I can really get the most out of it.
And I think that's something we do well. One, we're putting ourselves out there doing all these different events. We're really still showing our personality and that we're not corporate or we're trying not to be like any other company. We want to be like ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to play out. Not even through us and our interaction with others, but through our branding of our company. So what does that mean? We're going to take part in all the competitions.
All the competitions. Like in Startup Week, for example, first don't post on social that much anyway. And we had just made our official like simple Instagram account.
I think we made it for that.
Yeah. No, it already exists. And we were already getting followers.
Yep.
And then Startup Week was like, hey, there is this like photo scavenger hunt where go to all these places every day and take all these photos and then post them to your Instagram and tag us and do all the hashtags, all the cheesy stuff.
All the cheesy stuff.
And
the stuff that makes you cringe.
The stuff that makes you cringe to post and then to see. Like if you see someone posting it, you're like, oh God, no. Are you in a pyramid scheme right now? What are you doing? And but then the winner got we called it a sweet spa retreat, which was a night at a local hotel along with a dinner at a nice restaurant, and a massage. Yeah. And we're like, you know what we could do? If we get that, we could probably leverage that.
I don't remember.
Actually, we didn't think that straight off the bat.
We just wanted to win.
We're like, okay, this is something that we can win.
Because it was good publicity.
Yeah.
And it was a cool way to get our name out there. Mm-hmm. Because we were still brand new in the area.
Yeah.
And we're like these young little kids, hop skippy and running around like
Startup Week. Yeah. We're a startup. So what we did is we did it like, one of them was like take a picture with coffee. And we just did like the most animated coffee picture. And
which one?
The one with the mobile coffee shop.
Bean juice?
Yeah. And what was another one that they really liked?
My favorite one of the whole week was like go to a local coffee shop or bar and play a game.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we got the Scrabble
Yeah.
board out, and we put like Reno Startup Week, what,
Edon.
Edon.
Edon is Economic Development Authority of Western Nevada.
Yeah,
which
they
is
were
somebody that-
one of the sponsors. We put Simple. We put all these different things that relate to Startup Week on the Scrabble board.
Yeah.
That was cool. That was my favorite picture.
They really like that too. I think probably this kind of alludes to like whether it's something you're comfortable with or it's whether it's something you're putting yourself out there for. These people that give you these resources really want you to lean into it and make it your own. Like one of the reasons, like literally one of the reasons they said that we won is because they loved the creativity of the pictures. And so it's like, if you're going to do something, don't be coy about it. Don't do it halfway. Like say like, okay, this is here for me to use. Let me make it mine. That's a big thing.
And we just had fun.
And we just had fun. That's a big part.
That's the biggest thing is like, it was like a race.
Yeah.
Running around. And the hardest part was, so we were doing it on my old iPhone that doesn't have service.
Oh, man.
So we always had to connect to Wi-Fi to be able to post the pictures anywhere. So it was like, that was always the scramble, trying to get wherever to post the pictures in time for the cutoff.
It came down to the last minute on the last day, too. Like, they were 5, because what we would do is we would take all the pictures and then post them at once on a carousel. And it was the last day, and so we had taken all the photos, because we needed one photo at this last event, and we thought there would be Wi-Fi at the venue. No Wi-Fi.
It was broken.
So we're like, dude, what do we do? So it's Startup Week. It's all really good information, so none of us wanted to miss the classes. But we're like, dude, one of us has to go on this mission to find Wi-Fi.
And I went off on a rescue mission myself.
And it was literally a nail biter. Probably 2 minutes before the deadline, 7 minutes before the deadline, you posted it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then crazy. I left because I wanted to jet back in time. And you're like, did you post it? Did you post it?
Because I wasn't seeing it.
And then I messed up and I didn't like tag somebody in it. So I had to take it off and then re-upload.
Oh, stressful.
I was sweating.
That's just to say, that's pretty cringy. I don't know about for everybody, but for us, it was pretty cringy to do the whole posting thing. And so, but what ended up happening is we got the hotel tickets and we're like, hey, let's use this to drive waitlist signups.
Yep.
And so we're like, hey, there is this thing that we have, which is a sweet, sweet spa retreat. Person who gets us the most signups within this amount of time gets that. And that ended up being like very successful for us.
It was cool getting our name out that way.
And it wouldn't have happened. So what happened was, because we're like, okay, this is hella cringy to do this, but let's do it anyway and see what happens. What ended up translating at the end of the day was a ton of waitlist signups for our product.
In recognition that we like to go all out for these events and these little prizes that you could win. Because we did the same. Where?
Las
Vegas. So it was Thanksgiving week. You had applied for Techstars to present at Techstars.
No, side note, how I found this was on LinkedIn.
Oh.
I was just scrolling LinkedIn, which is also cringy, but I was on it. And so because of Nevada Startup Week or Reno Startup Week, we had made these connections with a bunch of people that worked at Startup NV, same people that planned Las Vegas Startup Week. And so there was this one thing that one of them had reposted saying, hey, come join this like fun alternative pitch competition, which was basically an anything but normal pitch. It can't be a normal pitch. It has to involve like drama, song and dance. Anything quirky. It just can't be a normal pitch. We're like, oh, that sounds kind of fun. So signed us up for that, or at least applied, and then they're like, yeah, come and do it.
We found out like 3 days before we left.
Yeah.
Because we were supposed to go somewhere else. But we moved whatever we were supposed to go to because we were like, all right, well, I guess we're driving to Vegas.
Yeah. And probably the way that we thought about that is one thing also to remember with these free resources, you don't know your upside. And so it's best to think, okay, there's probably not much upside in many resources. I mean, surely not that much downside if they're free. But it's like you can't quantify the potential benefit of whatever something might be. We call it maximizing our surface area for serendipity.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, if there's any opportunity we have to put ourselves in an environment where there is even a small chance we can get lucky to the upside, we're going to put ourselves there.
Yeah. But that's also part of our branding of doing cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
That's pretty cool.
Why would you drive 14 total hours to present for 30 seconds?
It's cool.
It's cool.
It's pretty.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Why not?
What an origin story.
We show our creativity. And our presentation was hilarious.
So funny.
We had it nailed down. So good.
Not to toot our own horn. We practiced that so much. We wish we had a video, but our friend who was going to film it, she was helping plan it, and so she was busy
Very
at that
busy.
time. Yeah, so she did. But man, it was so fun.
I hope we have a chance to redo that one day because that was so good. Everyone loved it. We won Judge's Choice.
She went, yeah, yeah. It was. Ah, God, that was so fun, and that translated to
more connections.
More connections. I mean, that one is. I mean, we'll see. Oh. Okay, yeah, actually, we can't say too much about this, but because we went there, we met. So far, that has paid off twice.
Multiple dividends.
Yeah, multiple dividends. Number one, we met a person that was just happened to be in town, and she is located on the East Coast, and she's trying to do some stuff herself.
Yep.
So we got plugged in with somebody who's really involved with, like, the groundswell technology community on the East Coast. Mm-hmm. And so that's a whole nother world that we now have opened up to us, and we were able to help her out with some things for her project.
Yep.
And then we have a technology partner we would really like to work with, and we're already taking steps in that direction, who we met because we were there.
Yeah. So take risks, and you don't know what's going to happen because of these. And they all kind of like blend together after a while, and it just feels like a lot of busy work until you take a step back. And like we've talked about this before, is we take a step back and we see all the resources that we've taken advantage of. And it's like, it's incredible what's been offered here in Nevada, and we've just like gone after all of them.
Yeah. And
putting ourselves out there, and probably places we're super underqualified to be at.
Yeah.
But that's the best part.
Take yourself seriously. Like do things that you think you're probably going to fail at or be rejected at.
Yeah. And I think the best part about being at both of these events was some sort of validation for us that what we're doing is needed. Because we thought we would go and we'd talk to people and they wouldn't really get it, so we'd have to really dive into it and explain. But, 95% of the people we talk to is like they can relate in some sort of way to what we're trying to do. Mm-hmm. And for us, we took that, especially because this was in the tech side community, where this is validation for us. Like, this is people beyond our friends and family.
Yeah.
This is just people who are in the tech field.
And that could talk circles around us when it comes to the beeps and the boops, the zeros and the ones.
We're not there yet. Well, we are there now, actually. We're getting there.
We're getting there. We're getting better at talking. That's another thing. It's like the more you put yourself out there, the more people are going to ask you questions. Mm-hmm. And the more you're either going to be like, oh, I know how to answer this question, or, oh, dang, I don't know the answer to this question. I should probably do research on.
And then you know where to go the next step. And then you grow that much more knowledgeable on. Yeah. For us, it's simple.
It's, man, that's a really good point. Like, when you're putting yourself out there, it's a really good way to gauge your own understanding and your own ability to do what you say that you're trying to do. Because people will call you out because they're not being mean. They're just curious. And they'll poke holes where you didn't know holes existed. Yeah. And the idea then to make the most of that is to not be defensive, but to say, okay, this is something that I need to learn. I need to maximize my statistical likelihood of success by filling in this gap in my knowledge. And so then next time someone asks you that question, you have an answer. Learning.
And people they don't want you to beat around the bush. If you don't know it, just tell them. And they're not going to like harp on you. Why? Why are they going to harp on you for? There's no reason for them to harp on you.
Yeah.
But you know where you can progress.
You're not going out to sell. You're going out to be honest and have honest conversations. Anywhere you go, you can really tell someone who's kind of full of it.
Yeah.
It's like you don't know what they do. You never know what they do. They talk all the time, or they're very vague, and it's like, or they're being very cagey about their idea.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, look, just if that's you, be more secure and confident in your own ability and your own idea, even if it's like, even if you are not so developed yet, you know, take it as an opportunity to ask questions, because last thing you want to be is that person who's just blowing smoke.
Well, you also don't want to be somebody who's going to conform to every conversation you have. Like if somebody comes up and is like, I think you guys should include social media, and we're like, yeah, you know what? You're right. We should include social media. It's like, no. But we're very like, we know our ideology behind what we're including and what we're not including. And we're very methodical about it.
I always find those conversations an interesting time to like prod at the edges of our understanding of, for example, we're not going to allow social media on our phone. And they're like, you guys should allow social media. And instead of saying like, no, that's not our idea. Obviously, we know that's not our idea. Telling them isn't going to help us. No. What's going to help us is saying, oh, like within the context of a dumb phone, why do you think adding social media would be helpful? And they might
pick
be
their
like,
brains.
Exactly. And they might be like, oh, I use DMs all the time. And so then we would be like, oh, so really you don't care about the whole thing. You just want to still be able to DM people that you're connected with on the app, which is like a really good takeaway.
Which is something that we created it for, ultimately. It's like that was one of the things we were going after, which is why we're making some choices the way we are. Is because of where we started. So, yeah, you could either get upset and be like, get defensive about it, or you can know their understanding.
Yeah.
And then what do you do with the information? Are you productive, or are you going to fight it? People are, and we've talked about this from the start, is what we're making is not for everybody. And some of the hard conversations are the people who are like, that's not for me. I'm like, okay, it's not for you. That's fine. And then they get offended because they think we should be making it for everybody.
It's just like best practices. Be okay with what anybody tells you and don't take it to heart. Like find the way to make every conversation productive and enlightening for you. Because there's no point in getting defensive. Yeah. It's like, and if you're getting defensive, maybe you're insecure about your idea. Yeah. And if you're insecure about your idea, maybe you should investigate that.
But we've also had the pleasure and opportunity to work with lots of companies where it's a mutual relationship, as maybe they feel insecure about this part. So what we do is we break it down and talk them through it. Why? Why are you uncomfortable about this? How can we make this feel better for you? Working with all these resources and small companies and support each other. A buddy of mine, we made a little co-working community that we have, right? And the best part about this is just like we work sometimes, probably a little less productively than we should, but it's the networking and support of other small business owners, as well as having a place to bounce ideas off of each other. That's so cool. There's so many times we've helped each other just by like, all right, you guys, what should we do here? Try this product out. Does this work? How can we support you? How can we support yada, yada, yada? Oh, do you have a resource for this? It's just that network of not big external organizations, but just us. Yeah. As small founders.
Like literally 2 days ago in the group chat, somebody's like, they put a URL in and they're like, hey guys, I just rebranded. Here's the new website. I'm going live tomorrow. I would love to hear your thoughts. And then like the group chat just got swarmed with like super productive feedback. Like, because they're like, oh, hey, what about this? What about this? In this workflow, like this happens. I'm a bit confused. What's next?
Mm-hmm.
And so then it's just like people helping people. And we met most of those people from Reno Startup Week. And then we've brought in a couple more people that weren't in Reno Startup Week. But because that is a new resource that exists, people are coming in now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's productive. It's helpful. It's what's really cool about this community. There's no one like, this is terrible, you should not post. Like, it's how can we make this better to support? That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's support.
Mm-hmm. One more thing that I wanted to get out there was that you should, when it comes to finding resources, what we did is, and what we do is we always stay curious and we always try to find more ways that we can help the community and we can glean resources from that community. Or not just the community, even on the development side as well. The question is like, you're kind of shooting in the dark, but you have to keep shooting, meaning you have to stay curious, keep asking questions, and keep prodding in the environment you have access to at that moment to find resources. And you should never rest on your laurels. Like, and this was a very common an example in our story so far is we did very well at integrating ourselves and asking questions at the very beginning. And recently, we've been focusing more on development or focusing more on like expanding our video and audio presence. That maybe we stopped doing that. So we slowed down on that, asking questions, where can I find resources department? And this became immediately obvious through just a bit of luck. So what happened was our developer, one of our developers, his computer broke. And he's like, well, I can't keep building anymore because my computer just doesn't have the guts for it. But so he's like, but he could develop on like what's called a virtual machine. I don't really understand. Basically, the principle is his computer had enough power to develop like just through the keyboard plugging in somewhere else, but he couldn't have all the data of what he was developing locally on the computer. Yeah. All the big data had to be somewhere else. So the options were buy him a laptop or get a virtual machine, which the goal is in the long term, we still want to buy him another laptop because that's just the right thing to do. Yeah. He could use another laptop. It would be helpful for him. It would be helpful for us. But it turns out the type of laptop we needed was like 700 minimum. And we're like, oh no. Oops. Do we have that? And I was just, we have Mercury Bank, which is...
Shout out. They do not sponsor this. But hey,
yeah,
Mercury Bank, if you want to sponsor us,
let us know. But I was just poking around a Mercury Bank, being like, I think probably just looking at our balance and being like, how the heck are we gonna get this guy a new computer? but then I was just on our profile, and there was a little tab that said perks, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting, perks, okay. So I clicked on it, and it's just this whole list of technology partners that Mercury Bank gives to people who bank with them. And two of them were Microsoft and AWS startup programs. Credits, yeah. So it's like, and part of the perks there were like, oh, you get AWS credits, you get Azure credits. Yeah. And we're like, oh, what? This is a thing? And these credits, what that means is they would translate essentially for us what is a free virtual machine. Yep. So like in the short term, when we couldn't buy our developer a laptop, we found a free solution through these programs that were provided to us, at least advertised through us through Mercury. And that's probably something we should have known about more. And the reason we didn't know about before is because we weren't asking enough questions. So I mean, it's just an example of like we're in a lucky situation now with the credits that we have both at Microsoft and Amazon because of just that serendipity, dumb luck. But we could have gotten about that through like asking more questions about what resources exist through the channels that we already have. For example, our bank account. Who would have thought? But the moral of the story here is like you can never ask enough questions in any domain.
And I think you speak on a good point. It's the perks, right? This is stuff that's quite readily available in a variety of different places, like the library, right? Right when I got back from China, I was working a lot at the library just because I wanted to get out of the house and get stuff done. But they offer like free passes for the national parks or free parking passes for the national parks, tons of classes, Rosetta Stone for language learning. Like what they offer is incredible, and it's like that goes to show, go around your community, find what offers everything. For us, this place, Adams Hub, is one of the best resources for us, and we've totally taken advantage of all the perks that they offer. The resources available as far as people and staff, they have an amazing staff. Come check them out. Please come use them. Say hi. Tell them we sent you.
Carson City, if you're in the area, or if you're in Reno, or if you're in Tahoe, or if you're in San Francisco and you're tired of all the hubbub, just come over to Carson City.
Come to Carson City.
Work at Adams Hub.
We'll take you out to coffee.
Yeah. We'll
hang out. Come meet Sydney and Cassandra and Juliet. They're fantastic people. And like there's a ton of events here. We started off going to the networking event on Thursdays. That was cool, just to meet and see what's around the community. Then I joined Toastmasters for public speaking and trying to build up a lot of skills. They have just lots of people to meet. There's always people trickling in that we found are helpful or helping us or just everything.
Yeah.
Utilize.
Shout out Captain Pete.
Yeah. Utilize these resources because they will carry you. And it's just a mutual relationship. Like they will dive into you, what you put into them. So take advantage of this stuff.
So, moral of the story, what we're saying here is there are plenty of resources for you to use at every stage of your journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of asking a ton of questions and staying open to what you find.
Yeah.
And then really making the most of what you find so you can get the most out of that, and you can get follow-on opportunities because you never know what's going to happen.
Do we know we're going to end up here? Absolutely not.
No.
Like we've talked about towards the beginning of this, is like we were just by ourselves in the house all the time working, and now we're never there. We're usually here.
We've taken residence.
We've taken residence at Adams Hub.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a shift, but part of it is staying open-minded and taking the risk and putting yourself in uncomfortable situations.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're going to pay off tenfold.
Yeah.
Maybe 11-fold if you're us.
What do you say? Get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah. Be comfortable with being uncomfortable because that's where you're going to find the most growth.
Yeah. Do it. Well, that is all we wanted to talk about for resources.
That's
on
it.
This portion of the Founders Files.
Dun, dun, dun.
We'll talk to you next.
Thank you to Cassandra for the sick setup.
Yeah.
We walked in this morning thinking it was going to be like it was the other day. No, it's completely over the top. This is so cool.
Yeah, she set up
everything.
Yeah. Even with the logo.
That's cool.
And I found out that the things with the little hats, it's called the serif family.
The serif?
We're really,
that's right. The serif family fonts.
Serif family of fonts. We're doing a little bit of a rebrand, which maybe you'll see a little bit later.
Very exciting.
But we're diving into fonts as part of that, and maybe we're gonna have a serif. We're gonna bring a serif into a serif family of fonts into our family of fonts, and we're happy to welcome it. But that's a PS.
That's a PS.
We'll talk to you next time.
Yep. Sayonara.
Bye.